Hey, welcome. Tonight's a little different. Not the polished frontier of old Hollywood. No saloon shootouts staged with flair. No noble drifters tipping their hats under desert suns. What we're stepping into is quieter, grittier, more dangerous. This is the real Wild West, where the air was thick with dust and blood, and the line between law and chaos was thin and often ignored. If you're here, you probably already know this isn't going to be a feel-good story, but maybe that's why you pressed play. If you've got a moment, I'd love for you to hit like or subscribe. It keeps this journey going, and if you're feeling social, drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing our little constellation of viewers light up around the world. It makes the silence of these stories feel a little less lonely. All right, now's the time to dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum in the background. Let the shadows settle around you, because where we're going, things are about to get cold, rough, and very, very real. Congratulations, or maybe condolences. You've just opened your eyes in the American Wild West. The year is 1872, and you're not ready. You lie there for a moment, unsure what's heavier, the weight pressing into your chest, or the stench. It's not just the musty scent of wood and dirt. No, it's something sour, human, animal, sharp like old urine soaked into floorboards. The smell of bodies unwashed for weeks, of livestock penned too close, of waste thrown into ditches that serve as both garbage heap and open sewer. You want to gag, but your stomach's empty. You're going to get used to that. You blink against the dim light filtering through the chinks in the wall. Your bed, if you can call it that, is a burlap sack stuffed with straw, coarse broken stalks that itch and poke through thin linen sheets. You shift your weight, and something crawls against your leg. A bed bug, or maybe a flea. Doesn't really matter. You'll be wearing them either way. Your back aches like you've been beaten, but no one beat you. That's just what sleep feels like out here. The mattress groans as you sit up. Every joint complains. Your hands are blistered, skin cracked and stained from sun and soil. You can't remember the last time they weren't. Because whether you're farming, hauling, branding cattle, or shoveling ore from some collapsing mine shaft, this life demands everything, and it doesn't give much back. Outside, the air bites. If it's winter, and it feels like it is, your breath fogs in front of you. Your cabin has gaps wide enough to let in the cold, but not the light. Maybe you've got a fireplace, but if you're smart, you let the coals die out during the night. Wood is precious. Fuel is life. You look down at your clothes, or what passes for them. A threadbare shirt, canvas trousers stiff with sweat and dust. You've probably got one more outfit, and it looks exactly the same. Doesn't matter. You're wearing this one till it falls apart. There are no laundromats, no closets, and definitely no clean socks. If you're a woman, the reality's even harsher. You're wrapped in corsets and petticoats, long wool skirts and heavy sleeves, no matter the season. Whether the sun's baking the land into cracked clay or the wind's howling with snow, modesty is expected. Comfort isn't. You shuffle across the uneven wooden floor, your bare feet catching splinters. No insulation, no rugs, just wood, warped, cracked, and groaning under your weight. The wind whispers through the walls like a ghost looking for warmth. Breakfast? If you're lucky, there's coffee. Bitter, overboiled. Maybe beans. Salted pork if you've got any left. Most days it's biscuits, hard and dry, made from flour that might have been sifted with bugs. Protein, if you think about it the right way. There's no sugar, no eggs, no oranges or apples unless you're within a day's ride of a wealthy trading post. Vegetables, seasonal, scarce. And scurvy, that's not just something pirates got. Out here it takes your teeth first, then your strength, then everything else. You step outside. The morning sun cuts across the plains in long, golden streaks, but there's nothing soft about it. The wind is already lifting the dust into little whirls that sting your eyes. And the silence. It's loud, not peaceful, heavy, expectant. Because this land doesn't care about your name, your past, your future. It only asks one thing. Can you endure? You scan the horizon. Flat, endless. Maybe there's a creek nearby, maybe not. You'll have to haul water either way. buckets balanced on aching shoulders, spilling with every uneven step. If you're one of the many trying to live off this land, grow corn, raise cattle, keep chickens, you're already behind. Weather, pests, bandits, failing tools, or a neighbor's wandering livestock could destroy a season's work in an afternoon. And there's always the threat of fire. One spark, one careless ember, dry fields turn to infernos. And there are no fire brigades out here, no sirens, only buckets and prayers. You wonder what made you come here in the first place. Maybe it was the promise of land. 160 acres if you could just survive 5 years on it. The Homestead Act sounded like salvation when you were still back east, reading about it by candlelight. But no one told you about the blizzards, or the isolation, or what it would feel like to watch your child's fever climb with no doctor for 100 miles. Or maybe you're not a settler, maybe you're a cowboy, or trying to be, following cattle across hostile terrain, fighting rustlers, sleeping under the stars with your boots on, because you can't afford to take them off. Snakes like warm leather, so do scorpions. Your revolver's always at your side, not for show, for survival, because men out here will kill for less than $1. Or just for the thrill of it. Law. It's a suggestion. Sheriffs come and go. Sometimes they're the worst of the lot. Judge, jury, executioner, all in one. And women, they suffer in ways that history rarely bothers to record. Childbirth without medicine, abuse without consequence, loneliness deeper than any canyon. Some survive through resilience, others by hard choices. A few vanish altogether, as if swallowed by the dust. You stare out at the world around you and realize there's no going back. The boat that brought you west left behind your old life. What's in front of you now is unforgiving, unfiltered, and raw. This isn't a movie. This isn't pretend. This is the American frontier, and you've only survived the first hour. Tomorrow will be harder, and the day after might not come. Absolutely. Here's part 2, continuing seamlessly from where part 1 left off, with the same slow, cinematic pacing, deep emotional realism, and immersive detail. This section keeps you anchored in the brutal rhythms of frontier life, as the story begins to widen beyond your small cabin into the world around it. You step back inside, your breath still hanging in the air. There's no clock on the wall, no schedule to follow, but your body knows what comes next. Work. Endless, backbreaking, silent work. That's the rhythm of this life. There is no pause button, no taking it easy. You either move, or you fall behind. And out here, falling behind doesn't mean inconvenience. It means starvation, exposure, death. The sun hasn't even climbed halfway up the sky, and already your shirt is damp with sweat, cold in the winter, suffocating in the heat. There's no such thing as dressing for the weather. You wear what you have, and you hope it's enough. You grab your tools, a rusted hoe, a dented axe, a shovel with a splintered handle. None of them are sharp. You were supposed to file them down last week, but the days blurred together. There's never enough time. Outside, the land stretches in every direction like an unfinished thought. No trees, no fences, just the wind whispering over cracked soil, whispering things you try not to hear. You push your feet into the earth, brittle from drought or frozen from frost. If you're planting, you pray the seed takes root. If you're harvesting, you hope there's something left after the crows and the insects and the dust storms have had their share. And then there's water, always water. The well's half a mile away. If you're lucky, it hasn't gone dry. If you're not, you'll have to walk farther. Maybe trade with a neighbor if you still have anything worth offering. Maybe dig, again. The weight of the buckets drags at your shoulders. The wooden yoke rubs raw against your neck. With each step, the water sloshes, leaking precious ounces into the dust. You think about every drop you spill. It hurts, not just your muscles, something deeper. As if the land is punishing you for your weakness. Your mouth is dry, but you don't drink. Not yet. There are animals to feed. If you've got a cow, she needs water more than you do. The chickens too. And the dog, if he's still alive, limps behind you, ribs showing through matted fur. He's been earning his keep chasing rats from the grain sacks. You check the traps. Nothing today. One's been tripped but empty. Bait gone, jaws wide. You curse under your breath, but there's no one to hear it. Just the wind, and the feeling that the world is always watching, always withholding. Time passes without you noticing. The sun climbs. Your body moves out of habit. Chop, haul, nail, mend, dig. There's no pride in it, just survival. And even that's not promised. You return to the cabin around dusk. The light is soft now, golden against the rough edges of the world. For a moment, everything is quiet, almost beautiful. But beauty, out here, is a trap. It lulls you, makes you forget how quickly things can go wrong. A neighbor rides up just as you're putting the tools away. He's thin, pale, hat in his hands, eyes flicking around like something's chasing him even when he's standing still. He tells you there was a shooting last night in town. You knew the dead man. Not well, but enough to nod when you passed each other. He was young, barely more than a boy. Got into an argument at the saloon. Words turned to fists, fists turned to steel. 2 gunshots, 1 grave. That's how quick it happens. That's how short a life can be here. Your neighbor doesn't stay long. He never does. Everyone keeps their distance. You help each other when it's life or death, but otherwise, trust is hard-earned and easily lost. You never know who's got secrets buried just under the floorboards. As night falls, the cold creeps in again. You light a lantern, oil, precious as gold, and set it on the table. Shadows press in around the edges of the room, and you feel them watching. Not ghosts, exactly, but memories, regrets, things you haven't said out loud in years. You eat what's left of the beans, half-stale bread, maybe a piece of jerky if you rationed right. There's no talking, just chewing, just the tick of your jaw and the creak of the wind in the walls. Later, as you lie in bed, the straw digging into your back, the blanket thin and damp, you think of home, whatever that means now. Maybe it was a house in Ohio, or a dockside room in Boston. Maybe you never had one to begin with. Maybe that's why you came here, to build something that felt permanent. But nothing out here is permanent. Not the houses, not the crops, not the lives. You hear a wolf howling in the distance, or maybe it's something else. Coyotes, bandits, someone drunk and lost on the trail. It doesn't matter. You clutch your rifle under the blanket, loaded, 1 shot already chambered, just in case. Sleep doesn't come easy. It never does. Because the frontier doesn't sleep. It waits. And tomorrow, it will ask for more than you gave today. Because out here, the cold wakes you first. It creeps through the cracks in the walls and settles into your bones. There's no alarm, no rooster, no gentle start. Just the ache of your body reminding you it still exists. You stretch, but the motion feels foreign. Your muscles are stiff, tendons tight like old rope. Sleep was thin, full of half-dreams, flickers of memory, and the constant sense that something just outside the door might be watching. You rise in silence. There's no time for hesitation. You step outside and the land greets you the same way it always does, with indifference. The sky is a dull gray, heavy with clouds that may or may not bring rain. Most likely, they won't. They'll just hang there, pressing down on the world like a lid. The wind cuts sharper this morning, and it carries something strange. The scent of smoke, not from your chimney, not from your land. You scan the horizon. Far off to the west, something's burning. You can't tell what. Could be a barn, could be a cabin, could be a settlement gone wrong. And you wonder, is it fire that comes for people here? Or people who come with fire? You keep your hand near your belt, near the revolver. Not because you're expecting trouble, but because out here, expecting it is the only way you're not caught by it. Today, you're riding into town. Supplies are running low. Flour, salt, coffee if you're lucky. Maybe a bullet mold if the blacksmith has one. The journey isn't long, but it's never safe. You saddle your horse, if you still have one, or borrow a neighbor's mule if you're scraping by. You pack light, water, a scrap of bread, a half-loaded rifle. You don't look back at the cabin. There's nothing romantic to leave behind, just a pile of logs and labor. The trail to town is carved into the dirt like a wound. Rutted, broken, scarred with wagon wheels and dried blood. You've seen bodies on this road before. Travelers who didn't make it, robbed and left with their boots missing and eyes open. But this morning, the road is empty, silent, save for the crunch of hooves and the occasional rustle in the brush. Halfway there, you pass an old cross half buried in the weeds. Weathered wood, a name carved so shallow it's almost gone. You slow down, you nod once. No words. Just the memory of someone who once thought they could tame this place, like you. You reach town by mid-morning. But town is a generous word. It's more like a collection of wooden boxes with slanted signs and too many windows shot out. A saloon with swinging doors that hang crooked. A general store. A post office that hasn't seen a real letter in months. The streets are muddy. Flies buzz around something dead near the trough. You tie your horse loosely. You never know when you'll need to leave fast. Everyone looks at you when you enter. No one says hello. It's not hostility, it's survival. People here keep to themselves because talking too much is how secrets get loose. And secrets in the West are often the only thing keeping a man alive. Inside the store, it smells like sawdust and old tobacco. The shelves are half stocked. Everything costs more than it did last time. You trade a tin cup, a small bundle of herbs you've been drying, and 2 unused bullets for a sack of flour and a pinch of salt. That's the math here. Everything has a cost, not just in dollars, in blood, in time, in what little you can afford to give up. You hear voices outside, loud, urgent. You step to the doorway, just in time to see a rider thunder into town. Coat flapping, horse lathered with sweat. He's yelling something about a raid. North of the river, 3 families, gone. Your gut twists. You feel it in your spine, that old fear. The kind that comes not from panic, but from knowing this story too well. No one speaks. No one runs to help. Not because they don't care, but because they can't afford to. If they leave their homes now, their families might be next. Out here, every choice is a gamble, and hesitation is a death sentence. You finish your trade and leave quickly. Back on the trail, your mind won't stop spinning. Was it natives? Bandits? Or just hungry men with guns and no more options? The newspapers back east always try to tell you who the villains are. But out here, everyone's desperate. Everyone's dangerous. Including you. You return home before sundown. The cabin looks smaller than it did when you left. The land is still, too still. You unsling your rifle and approach carefully. Every door you open feels like it might be the last thing you do. But inside, it's just as you left it. Empty, cold, waiting. You unpack your supplies in silence. There's no celebration, no relief. Just a little more time bought. Just a little more survival. That night, you sit by the fire. It's weak, the logs are damp. The flames lick but don't roar. You watch them anyway. You think about the rider, about the families, about how easily that could have been you. You wonder how many more days you can go like this, waking up into a life that demands everything and gives almost nothing. The wind howls outside. Coyotes, maybe. Or not. You wrap yourself in your coat, close your eyes, and pray the morning still wants you. Because in the Wild West, even the sunrise has to decide who's earned it. Morning breaks, but it's hard to call it light. The sky is the color of ash, and the sun doesn't rise so much as it bleeds through the clouds, pale, uncertain. You've stopped keeping track of the days. You mark time by the wear on your boots, the hollowness in your pantry, the deepening silence between you and the world. You move slowly today. Not from laziness, there's no such thing out here, but from the weight of something heavier than exhaustion, the weight of repetition, the dull ache of knowing tomorrow will look the same, the day after too. You begin to wonder if this is living or just not dying. Your boots crunch over frozen ground. The well's dry again. That's the 3rd time this season. The snowmelt hasn't come and the creeks are bone. You think about digging a new well, farther east where the land dips. But it would take weeks. You don't have weeks. You don't even have enough nails to build a new bucket. Everything is stretched thin. Your resources, your patience, your hope. The chickens are restless. One of them is missing. You find the feathers scattered behind the coop. No prints, no blood. Just a sudden, clean disappearance. Could have been a hawk. Could have been something else. Doesn't really matter. She's gone. That's one less egg you'll eat this week. Maybe one less meal. In the silence, it grows louder. Some days, it feels like the land itself is watching. Like the trees and rocks remember every drop of blood spilled into them, every whispered prayer unanswered, every last breath taken beneath their shadow. The nights are the worst, not because of the cold. You've learned to live with that. But because when the dark settles in and there's nothing left to do but sit still, that's when the ghosts come. Not the kind that rattle chains or slam doors. No, these are quieter, more familiar. You see your father's hands, calloused and cracked, reaching out across the firelight. You hear your sister's laugh, echoing down a hallway that hasn't existed in years. You remember the way your mother once combed your hair with fingers that trembled even then. And you wonder, why did you leave? Why did you trade warmth for wilderness? Was it freedom? Was it pride? Or was it just the idea that somewhere out here, you'd find something real, something unspoiled, something honest? The truth is, you're not sure anymore. The frontier has a way of stripping you down to the bone. Not just your body, your soul. It carves away the noise, the vanity, the little comforts you thought you needed, until all that's left is the question, who are you when no one is watching? There's a letter in your coat pocket. You've been carrying it for weeks now. The paper is soft with wear, the ink faded at the corners. You haven't opened it. You don't have to. You know what it says. It's from someone you left behind. Someone who once asked you to stay. Someone whose name you can barely whisper now without your chest tightening. There's a life back there, a warm bed, a steady roof, children who might have called you their own. But you didn't choose that life. You chose this. You stare at the letter by firelight, turning it over in your hands. For a moment, you think about reading it, but your fingers won't move. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. Outside, the wind is changing. It brings a smell. Not smoke this time, but something sour, something wrong. You step out with your rifle. Your breath fogs the air in front of you. The forest looms, dark and unmoving. You walk the perimeter of your land, the cold sinking into your boots. You scan the tree line, slow and patient, listening. There's no sound, but the silence has shape now. It presses against your ears. It watches. Then, just before you turn back, you see it. A shape far off in the dusk. Human, maybe. Could be a traveler. Could be something worse. You raise your rifle. But when you blink, it's gone. You stand there for a long time. Long enough for the cold to bite through your sleeves. Long enough to wonder if you saw anything at all. Or if the land is starting to play tricks on you. It does that, you've heard. Out here, too much solitude can rot the mind. Twist memory. Birth shadows where none should be. You return to the cabin and bar the door. Load the rifle. Check it twice. You sit in your chair. Watch the flame. And you wait. Because the Wild West isn't just wilderness. It's a mirror. And sooner or later, it shows you who you really are. The next morning, something shifts. It's not dramatic. Just a feeling in your chest. Like something's leaning against your ribs. A pressure. The kind that makes your breath catch without knowing why. The sky's clearer today. Pale blue with strips of cold clouds slicing across it like old scars. You study it longer than usual. There's no reason to. But you do. Maybe because the stillness feels too perfect. Like the land is holding its breath. You check your traps. Empty. You check the coop. Quiet. You scan the horizon. No movement. But still, that pressure stays. You decide to ride east. There's an old settler out that way. Peterson. You haven't seen him in weeks, and out here that's a kind of language. People vanish like candle smoke. Sometimes they moved on. Sometimes they died alone and silent, and the wind buried their names before anyone noticed. The ride is long and slow. The road winds through frozen brush, past the husks of trees that didn't survive the last drought. Every once in a while, you pass remnants of someone else's dream. A collapsed fence, a forgotten cart, a chimney with no house. You think of Peterson. His land was hard, drier than yours. He had a wife once, then he didn't. You never asked what happened, and he never offered. But he used to bring jerky to the general store and trade for flour. always with a nod, always alone. When you reach his cabin, you know before you dismount. The place is too quiet, not the peace of solitude, the wrong kind of quiet. The kind where even the birds have stopped singing. The kind of silence that feels watched. You knock once. Nothing. You step inside, slow and careful. The door creaks like a dying breath. Inside, it's cold, stale. Dust clings to everything. A chair lies overturned, one boot near the door. Dried beans scattered across the floor like someone dropped them in a hurry and never came back. And then you see the rifle, still loaded, still leaning near the door. Nobody leaves their gun behind. You back out, one step at a time. You don't need answers. Not here, not today. You ride home faster, because there's something circling these lands now. Not wolves, not men. Something else. Something you can't name. But you feel it. In your spine. In your teeth. In the way your horse breathes harder than it should. By the time you return, the sun is dragging its heels toward the horizon. The shadows come early. You light the fire before you're even inside. Keep the rifle in reach. You lock the door, and then you brace it too. It's not paranoia anymore. It's routine. Later, by firelight, you find yourself staring at your reflection in the blade of your knife. You don't recognize what's looking back. The eyes are yours, but distant. Wary. Like a creature that's been hunted too long. You remember when you first came here. How the silence felt holy. How the land seemed to promise a new start. You thought you'd find peace. But maybe peace isn't something the land gives. Maybe it's something it takes. The letter's still in your pocket. You haven't touched it in days. Tonight you take it out and just hold it. Like it might anchor you. Like the ink might warm your fingers. You think about reading it again. But then, a sound. Outside. Soft. A footstep, a branch, wind. You kill the fire with your boot. Darkness spills into the room like ink. You move toward the window, careful not to breathe too loud. And there, just past the tree line, something moves. It's too far to see clearly, but it's not a deer, not a bear. Too upright, too slow. Like a man, but wrong somehow. Bent at the shoulders, head tilted, just standing. You don't move. It doesn't either. Minutes pass. Or hours. And then it's gone. Just like that. You wait longer. Rifle tight in your hands, eyes dry from staring. But nothing returns. Eventually you sit down, fire still out, cabin quiet. You don't sleep. Can't. Something's changed. The land is still the same. Cold, harsh, beautiful in its way. But you're not the same. Something's been taken, or broken, or twisted into something new. And the letter stays folded. Because deep down, you know, if you open it now, you might not make it to morning. No sunrise, no shift in shadow. Just the soft gray bloom of another day layered over yesterday's grief. You're not sure how long you sat there. At some point, your body stopped shivering. At some point, your thoughts stopped feeling like your own. You move because you have to, not because you want to. You step outside, rifle in hand, eyes scanning the tree line, the ridge, the open field beyond the fence. Nothing. Not even tracks. Just the same thin frost clinging to the earth like dust to bone. Whatever was out there, if it was ever really there, it's gone now. But the fear lingers. Not the sharp kind that makes you run. The other kind. The slow drip. The kind that dulls your appetite, hollows your sleep, coils around your thoughts until you stop trusting even your own memories. You chop wood until your arms go numb. Not because you need more wood, you don't. But you need something to do. Something to keep your hands from shaking. Something to remind your body that it's still here. Still real. The axe splits through the cold air, again and again. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The rhythm helps. It's the closest thing to music you've heard in weeks. Later, you boil coffee, thick and bitter, made from grounds reused too many times. You drink it anyway. It scrapes your throat, warms your stomach, reminds you you're alive. You think about the figure you saw, or think you saw. You try to remember its face. But there wasn't one, was there? Just a shadow, just posture, just a presence. You've heard the stories, everyone out here has, of travelers vanishing without a trace, of cabins found abandoned, dinner still warm on the table, of pale things that watched from hillsides, never blinking. But you never believed them. Not really. Until now. Until silence started to feel shaped. You decide to ride to the nearest town. If nothing else, you need to see another face. Hear a voice that doesn't come from memory. The town's 2 days away, maybe 3 with the snow. You pack light. Just dried beans, a flask of water, a little tobacco. Enough to keep your mind from fraying on the way. You saddle the horse. She's nervous. Eyes wide, head turning toward the forest like she's trying to spot something just outside your vision. You speak softly to her, stroke her neck, mount slow. She listens, but she doesn't relax. Not completely, not like before. You ride in silence. Hours pass, trees blur by. You notice the bones of a deer picked clean near the creek. Fresh, no tracks, just ribs rising from the snow like fingers trying to claw their way out. The world feels wrong, off-key, like the wilderness is humming a song you were never meant to hear. You stop to rest near a ridge. It's quiet up here, but not peaceful. You set no fire. You don't want to draw attention from animals or from whatever else might be listening. You eat dry beans with cold fingers, chew slow, eyes scanning the horizon. That night, dreams come hard and strange. You're standing in your childhood home, but the windows are gone. The roof is open to a red sky, pulsing like a wound. Your father is at the table, but he has no mouth. Your sister hums a lullaby you've never heard before. And in the corner, a figure stands in shadow, not moving, not speaking, just watching. You wake with a jolt, horse snorting nearby. You grab your rifle, scan the dark. Nothing. But the forest feels too close now, like the trees have leaned in overnight. Their branches brush the edge of your thoughts. Their bark seems darker, wet. You ride at dawn. No rest, no breakfast, just the sound of hooves and the dull ache behind your eyes. By the time you reach the town, your legs are stiff and your lips cracked from wind. The buildings rise from the snow like ghosts. A church, a store, a few cabins leaning against time. Smoke curls from one chimney. Life, or something pretending to be it. You tie your horse near the saloon. Inside, it's warm, dim. A few men drink in silence. One plays cards alone. The bartender nods when he sees you, doesn't speak, just pours coffee. You sit, you sip, and for the first time in days, the silence doesn't feel alive, just empty. Someone coughs, someone curses. You hear boots on floorboards and the soft creak of wood contracting from heat. You ask about Peterson. They look at you like you've spoken another language. No one's seen him. You mention the figure, the shape in the woods. They don't laugh, they don't mock you. One man, older, face like dry leather, just looks up from his drink. You saw it too, he says. Not a question, a statement. He turns back to his glass. No one else speaks. And suddenly you realize, this place may be the closest thing to safety, but no one here is safe. They've just learned how to live with it. You stay in town that night. Not because you trust it, but because out there, in the woods, something is watching, and you can feel it, even now, breathing at the back of your mind like a whisper you can't quite catch. You rent a small room above the saloon. The bed sags, the air smells of old smoke and sweat, but the walls are thick and there's a bolt on the door. That's more than you have back home. You sit with your boots still on, your rifle close, and let the weight of the journey catch up to your bones. Sleep comes reluctantly, like an old dog that has to be coaxed back inside. You wake before dawn. No dreams this time, just the hollow silence of being somewhere you don't belong. You dress slow, listen to the boards creak under your feet. The wind outside moans low, like it's dragging something across the rooftops. Downstairs, the bartender's already awake, pouring coffee. Doesn't say much. No one does. Not here. You ask him about Peterson again. His mouth twitches. Not quite a smile. Not quite fear. Men go missing, he says. Ain't new. You nod. He doesn't have more to give. People around here, they've learned something you haven't. Words are dangerous. They stir things up. Dig too deep and you might uncover something that doesn't want to be seen. Or worse, something that sees you first. You leave town by mid-morning, not because you're ready, but because staying would mean admitting you're afraid. And fear's a kind of infection out here. If it gets too deep, it stays. You ride slower this time, watching every tree, every hollow, every flicker of motion that might be wind or might not. By the time you reach your cabin, the sky's gone slate gray. Clouds pile thick like bruises on the horizon. A storm's coming, and not just in the weather. You dismount. The cabin stands just as you left it, but something's off. The door is closed, but not locked. You know you locked it. You push it open slow, breath held. The air inside is colder than it should be. Still, undisturbed. And yet, there's a new scuff mark on the floor. Mud, drying in the shape of a boot you don't recognize. Just one print. No trail in, no trail out. You searched the whole cabin. Nothing missing, nothing moved. Except the chair by the fire. It's facing the wrong way. You always leave it turned toward the hearth. Always. But now it sits square to the door, like someone was sitting there, watching. You don't unpack. You don't eat. You sit in the corner of the room with your rifle across your knees and wait for the light to fade. Because tonight you know something's coming. You feel it in the wind, in the animals. Even the birds are gone now. No crows, no squirrels, just the naked sound of wood groaning under its own age. And then, just before midnight, a knock. Not loud, not rushed, just soft, 3 taps, measured. You don't move, you don't breathe. Because whoever, whatever, is on the other side of that door isn't lost. It's not seeking shelter. It knows you're here. It came for you. The knock comes again, slower this time, like it knows you're listening. Your finger finds the trigger. The room feels smaller. The walls feel thinner. And then silence. Not even the wind. No footsteps, no voice, nothing. You wait an hour, then 2. And finally you open the door. The world outside is silver blue with moonlight. Snow falling in delicate spirals. But there are no tracks, no sign of anyone. Except in the center of the clearing, where the snow is untouched, a single feather, black, long, too large for any local bird. It's standing upright, planted in the earth, like a message. You walk out to it, boots crunching. The cold slips past your coat like breath against skin. You kneel, reach for the feather. The moment your fingers close around it, something changes. The woods go quiet again. But this time, it's not emptiness. It's waiting. You look up, and somewhere between the trees you swear you see movement. Slow, swaying. Not close, not far. Just enough to let you know it's still out there. Still watching. Still waiting. You return to the cabin. Lock the door. Bolt it. Push the table against it. You don't light a fire. You don't need more light to see what's already burned itself into your mind. You sit there until morning, holding that feather in your hand like it's a curse you can't put down. And maybe it is. Maybe this land doesn't just kill men. Maybe it keeps them, changes them, twists them into shadows that knock politely, waiting to be let in. Dawn doesn't arrive the way it should. There's no soft warmth, no gradual glow pressing in from the east. Just the thinning of darkness, a shift from pitch to ash. You unbolt the door with fingers that don't feel like your own. Step into the frost-bitten air. The sky above is colorless, and the feather, the one left in the clearing, is gone. Not blown away, not buried, just vanished. You check for tracks, for movement, for anything. But the snow is untouched, perfect, like glass, as if last night never happened, as if you imagined it all. But you didn't. You can still feel it, that pressure behind your eyes, that tight coil in your gut that hasn't loosened in days. And then there's the whisper, not words, not even sound, just a feeling, the way the back of your neck prickles, the way your heart skips when you glance too quickly at the tree line and think, for just a second, that you saw something standing there. You stop chopping wood, you stop boiling coffee, you stop everything, because routine feels pointless now. The normal world is slipping away, piece by piece, and you're not sure how much longer you can pretend it hasn't already gone. You spend hours staring at nothing, listening, waiting. When you sleep, you don't dream anymore. You remember, but the memories feel wrong. Your mother's voice sounds different. Your childhood home seems unfamiliar, like it belongs to someone else's past. There's a gap, wide and quiet, growing in your mind where certainty used to be. One morning, you find something new outside the cabin. A circle of stones. Perfect, precise, arranged directly in front of your door. Each stone blackened, charred, not from fire, from something colder than fire. You don't touch them. You don't even step near. But you know, they weren't there yesterday. You leave them where they are. That night, you hear movement on the roof. Not footsteps, not scratching, more like dragging, a weight shifting from beam to beam. You hold your breath. Then you hear it, a low groan of timber under pressure, the sound of something settling above you, something large, something that isn't wind or tree branch or snow. You don't go outside. You don't sleep. When morning comes, you climb the ladder to the roof with your rifle slung across your shoulder. Nothing. No prints. No damage. But the roof is warm. Warm like something alive had rested there all night. You kneel, touch the boards. They pulse faintly, like they remember. The next day you start hearing your name. Not spoken, not shouted, just carried, soft like wind, from the edge of the trees. You freeze every time. Try to convince yourself it's the way the pines bend in the breeze, the way the frost cracks in the cold. But you know your name. You know the cadence of it, and the woods have learned it. You ride into town again, desperate for anything human. But the town isn't the same either. It's quieter. Buildings sag deeper. The saloon has no lights. The church door hangs open. Inside the general store, there's no clerk. Just a half-eaten meal on the counter. Steam still curling from a tin plate. You call out. No answer. You walk to the saloon. The bartender is gone. Tables overturned. Cards scattered on the floor like they'd been dropped mid-hand. But no signs of struggle. No blood. Just absence. Everyone's gone. No trail. No note. No sign. Just you. And whatever's been watching. You ride back, numb. The forest seems darker than before. The sun sets faster. Your horse moves slower, eyes wild, head twitching at every sound. By the time you reach your cabin, she refuses to go near. You tie her to a post and walk alone the last few feet. The door to your cabin is open. Not wide, just enough. Inside, the air is warm. The fire's burning. You didn't light it. You step inside, slowly, rifle ready. But no one's there. Just the fire. And something new on the table. A journal, not yours. The leather cover is cracked, brittle with age. No name. Just a symbol etched into the front. A spiral inside a circle, cut deep into the hide. You open it. Pages filled with strange handwriting. Slanted, sharp, like it was written in haste or fear. You flip through it and one sentence stops you cold. It doesn't kill you. It becomes you. You slam the journal shut. Your breath quickens. The room seems to narrow. Outside, the wind picks up, not howling, laughing. You lock the door, every bolt, every latch. But deep down, you know, it doesn't matter. Because whatever this is, it doesn't need to break in. It's already here. In the walls. In your mind. And maybe, just maybe, it's always been. The days no longer follow each other. You stop marking time. Sunrise and sunset become meaningless. Light shifts in unnatural ways. Too fast, too slow. Like the sky forgot how to spin. Some mornings the frost never melts. Other nights the moon doesn't rise. The calendar nailed to your wall still says October. But the trees outside say otherwise. Their leaves never turned. They simply withered and stayed. You don't sleep much anymore. When you do, the dreams are worse. They don't feel like dreams at all. More like intrusions. As if someone's pressing images into your mind that don't belong to you. A mine shaft, lit only by a single swaying lantern. Men inside, not digging, not working, just standing, motionless, silent. Their faces, blank, no eyes, no mouths, just smooth, stretched skin. And in the center of them all, a shape that isn't a man. Tall, wrapped in what looks like old bark. Antlers curled like roots, eyes like smoldering coal. Watching you, always watching. You wake with a nosebleed. Again, they become more frequent. Sometimes your ears ring, sometimes you lose time. Once you opened your eyes and found yourself outside, barefoot, shirtless, kneeling in the frozen mud. You don't remember leaving the cabin. You don't remember anything. But your hands were covered in sap. Thick, sticky black, like tar. And you could taste it in your mouth. You tried to burn the journal. Built a fire high and hot. Tossed it in and waited. But it didn't burn. Not even a corner. The pages curled slightly, then flattened, as if mocking the flame. You buried it after that, miles from the cabin, deep in the forest. But the next morning, it was back, sitting on your table, open to a different page. Don't try to leave, it knows. Your horse is gone now. Not run away, just vanished. The post where she was tied is still there. The rope is still looped, still knotted. But the end has been cleanly cut, as if something with no hands, no blade, severed it with intention. And then the crows returned. Not one, dozens, silent, lined along the roof, watching, not moving. not blinking. You stepped outside once to confront them. They didn't flinch, just stared. And when you shouted, when you raised your rifle and fired once into the sky, they didn't fly. They vanished. No feathers, no noise. One moment there, and then gone. You begin to feel it in your chest now. A pressure, like something inside you is growing. Not physically, but spiritually, emotionally. A widening crack that's letting something in. You don't cry. There are no tears left. Just a dry ache behind your eyes that never goes away. You try writing letters, not because you think anyone will read them, but because it helps you remember who you were. Before the cabin, before the trees, before it. You write your name over and over again, hoping it still belongs to you. One night as you write by lantern light, you hear it again. The knock. But this time, not on the door. From the wall. Inside, you freeze. Listen. It comes again. 3 knocks. Soft, rhythmic. Then silence. And then scratching. Not wild, not frantic. Gentle. Persistent. Like someone, something, is tracing its fingers through the wall, just behind the wood. You press your ear to it, and you hear breathing. Not yours. Not animal. Human. Slow, heavy, calm. You back away, rifle raised, and then with a sharp crack, the lantern goes out. Everything vanishes in the dark. You hear movement behind you. You swing wildly. Nothing. But the door is open. Wide this time. And the snow outside glows red. Not blood. Light. A faint pulsing red, like embers under ice. You step outside. The world is silent. The woods seem to lean inward. Trees bending at unnatural angles like they're converging, bowing toward some unseen center. And there, in the middle of the clearing, stands the figure. You can't see its face, just height. Mass. A long coat, arms too long. Still, waiting. You raise your rifle. But your hands don't move. Your body won't respond. Like something's inside your skin. Holding you still. The figure lifts one hand, points at you, and then vanishes. Like smoke. The red glow fades. The door creaks shut behind you. And when you turn back, there's nothing but snow. Empty. Quiet. But you know what you saw. You know, because it's not outside anymore. It's in the cabin. It's in your breath. It's in your blood. You go inside, close the door, and sit down. You don't light a fire. You don't need warmth anymore. Not where you're going. You haven't spoken in days. Not out loud. Not even to yourself. The silence has settled too deep now. In your ribs, in your teeth, behind your eyes. Speech feels foreign, like a forgotten tool buried in snow. Language belongs to the world before, and the world before is long gone. The woods are no longer outside the cabin. They're inside it now. Not as trees or shadows, but as air, as breath. Every time you inhale, you taste pine and soil and decay. Every time you blink, you see movement in the corners of your vision. Slow, deliberate, patient. You stopped locking the door 3 nights ago. There's no point. You understand that now. Locks are for things that want to be kept out. But this, whatever this is, never needed permission. It was never coming in. It was always pulling you out. The journal lies open on the table again. It always does. You don't remember retrieving it, but it's there. Spine split, pages curled, ink smeared like someone wrote them while shaking. This time the message is short. You're almost ready. You close your eyes, and you hear the woods breathing. Not metaphorically, literally. The trees around you exhale in sync. One long, slow breath that shudders through the ground and into your bones. Your fingers twitch. Your spine stiffens. Your mouth tastes like copper and cedar. And somewhere outside, something begins to sing. Not a melody. A hum. Low. Vibrational. The kind of sound that makes the hairs on your arms rise. The kind of sound that exists not in the ears, but in the spine. You feel it more than you hear it. Ancient, circular, impossible. You step outside barefoot. The snow doesn't sting anymore. It welcomes you. The sky above is no longer black, no longer starless. It's glowing faintly now. Not from sun or moon, but from something deeper. A kind of primal light that seems to pulse from under the earth. Shapes move in the trees. Tall, bent. They don't come forward. They don't need to. You're already coming to them. You walk into the woods with no coat, no gun, no fear. The forest opens for you. Branches part like curtains. Snowdrifts fall in spirals. And the deeper you walk, the less human you feel. Your heartbeat slows. Your thoughts scatter soft as ash. You remember less and less. Your name, your past, your purpose, all slipping from you like loose threads. But one thing remains. That sound. That low hum. It draws you forward until you reach a clearing you've never seen before, though it feels like you've always known it. At its center, a circle of stones, the same as before, blackened, charred, but larger now, ancient. Inside it stands the figure, the same one from the cabin. You see it clearly now. Not a man, not a beast, something between, something older. Its face is hidden by a crown of antlers and bark, its body wrapped in fabric that seems to shift with the light. Not cloth, but something woven from memory and shadow. It lifts its hand again, this time not to point, but to offer, and you understand. Not with words, with knowing. This was never about haunting. This was about becoming. The wilderness doesn't kill you. It claims you, molds you. You're not meant to survive the frontier. You're meant to disappear into it, to shed your skin, your voice, your history, until only essence remains. Until you belong to the land. You step forward into the ring of stones. The humming stops. Everything stops. And in that silence, deeper than death, you finally feel it. Peace. Not safety, not comfort, but peace in its rawest form. The kind born when you accept that you were never meant to conquer this place, only to be swallowed by it. Your eyes close, your body stills, and when they open again, they are not your eyes anymore. But it's watching, waiting, for the next soul bold enough to think they could survive the wild. The forest never forgets, it only waits. No one ever comes looking for you, not because they wouldn't have, but because the world you left behind slowly forgets how to remember. In the nearby town, the days move forward, like they always do. Someone might mention the stranger who passed through months ago, the one with tired eyes and dirt on his boots. They'll wonder aloud if he ever made it to where he was going. Maybe he turned north. Maybe he froze in the pass. But no one says your name, because your name doesn't belong here anymore. The letters of it have peeled off you, flaked into the snow, and melted under boot prints that led too far into silence. And just like that, you're gone. Not with tragedy, not with ceremony, but with the stillness of a candle guttering out in a room no one walks through anymore. Back in the woods, the cabin remains, tilting slightly, as if exhausted. The windows are dark. The door, half open, groans softly with the wind. Snow drifts have begun to bury the steps, smoothing them into the earth. Inside, dust floats in a slow dance through the last shaft of light. The fire has long since died. The bed is untouched, and the journal still sits on the table, open to its final page, the ink dried, the corners curled, as if time itself recoiled from what it found there. Not a signature, not a goodbye, just 4 quiet words, carved deep into the parchment with something sharper than steel and older than bone.